You're listening to our free podcast, The Screw Loose Juice. But this is just a taste. If you want the all-access pass to Rare Americans, then sign up for our fan club. For just $5 a month, you'll get never-seen-before music videos, guitar tutorials, articles written by the band, never-heard-before song demos, and hey, maybe even a little life advice that we've picked up along the way. Your $5 goes a long way in helping us make more music and videos to further reach people just like you all around the world. The link to sign up is on our website, rareamericans.com, and on our Instagram page, @rareamericans. Thanks so much for your support. Screw loose juice!
All right. What's up, everybody in the Rare Americans universe?
Hey.
Hola.
Hi.
You got everybody here for our first ever podcast with the whole band.
The first ever with everybody.
Exciting.
I'm nervous.
Yep. Very pressure-filled environment here in the studio basement.
What are we talking about today, Jamesy?
We are going to talk about the You're Not a Bad Person, It's Just a Bad World album, which was originally called an EP and then called a mixtape and then just ended up getting referred to as album.
Yeah, that was me. I started referring to it as album. I don't know what a mixtape is.
I know. I think it's confusing. It just kind of sounds cool, but it's kind of, I think it's like one of those things that like major labels do before they officially like want to announce the actual like debut records of an artist. So it's like a mixtape is almost like a teaser of what's to come from that artist. It's not like they don't put like the whole spend behind it, if that makes sense.
Seems like a hip hop thing.
Yeah, but it's also mixtape could be like you make something for your precious love. Like this is the best love song, I think. Or
Well, this album's
mixtape.
this is a love song to our fans. This album.
It's a love song, really? Is
It's
it?
it's a love mix album to our fans.
It's kind of like a little bit more grim than probably a love. That's a weird kind of love we got then.
But wouldn't you say that this album is aimed at Generation Z in a way? Many songs are.
For what reason?
It has themes of inheriting a bad world
Okay.
that were
fair.
created by others,
Yeah.
and that they can move forward and fix mistakes,
Yeah, I think that's a succinct, accurate way of putting it.
perhaps.
I remember just going back now, giving some context. I had to dig through. I started working on like an article a little bit on like about this record, and I was like, when did we record this? And I literally, for the life of me, could not remember. I literally had no idea. It felt like such a long time ago. And then I looked back through social media, and it was last summer. It was summer 2021.
Well, I
And
thought it was
September.
I thought it was November.
No, well, we had 2 sessions for this. Actually, it was a bigger recording. It was 24 songs we recorded in those sessions combined, right?
Right. So the first one we did was in the summer.
Yeah, it was July, 2 weeks in July and 3 weeks in September.
Right. So yeah, then we came back, right? And yeah, so I was like, holy smokes, I couldn't even believe that was like a year ago. And then we went on, well, no, we went on tour much later than that, after in the new year. But it
Yeah,
just
but
seems
we
like,
already started selling tickets.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so it
right.
was like tour was all we could talk about for next 6 months.
Yeah. Man,
So it
your
felt
memory
like-
is so good. No wonder you're like the information gatherer of the band. Like your ability to remember facts and details and events is like uncanny. Like,
Remember, I also do submit grant
yeah, that's
final
true.
reports, and I need to submit
So you know the
invoices
specific
and,
dates, and you're very aware of it. Yeah. So anyway, I was looking back, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was only like a year ago." But a few things I remember. I remember booking the studio time because I was like, "Hey, we have to record something because we needed to kind of get ahead." And I remember not having as clear of a plan, I guess, or direction. And so I remember putting together like a Google Drive folder of like 40 songs or something that were like some of the new demos we'd done, plus some old songs and old demos that maybe we overlooked for RA2 even and RA3. And then I think I sent them out to everybody, and like everybody kind of like put like a tally or some thoughts together, or like votes on which songs they kind of liked. And I remember it was quite a mixed bag between old and new. It wasn't like it was only the brand new songs or anything.
I remember that when we recorded it, we went to record it as an album, and we had about 16, 17 songs, but then we ended up having extra time.
Yeah, exactly.
So we added those songs, like Drawing Swords and Little White Lies, Fool's Gold. And actually, I could name all 7 songs. I'm crazy.
Songs that nobody's heard.
Django.
Yeah.
No one knows these songs.
Yeah, they don't exist.
We never recorded those. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's how I remember. I remember that everybody got really drunk in the studio one night, and we forced Ben to listen to about
40
demos.
That was so
including
fun.
Captain Picard.
Yeah, you guys were having blast. I was tired. I wanted to leave, but you just kept playing them.
Oh, yeah, that was so fun.
And yeah, you guys all loved it. And Ben had to endure all of our demos over and over and over again. But he didn't say anything. He didn't leave.
No, he was having a good time, too.
So, yeah,
But Liam was a little bit tired, I could tell.
poor Liam.
Well, Liam, man, that guy's working like 100 hours a week. Of course he's tired. But yeah, it was good. And then I remember that going into this recording process, I remember we all talked about trying to make it a little bit like darker sounding, or using a little bit, taking more risks or different extremes in sounds and dynamics, and some bigger guitar tones and some just kind of edgier stuff. There was a lot more electric guitar in songs like Run the World, and another one, that Sunday Morning, which may or may not be on an upcoming project. Just songs that were like, that had like kind of bigger, more electric guitar sounding songs than we had done in a little while.
I feel like we went through a Rage phase, Rage Against the Machine. Like there's like 3 songs that have that vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. There's also Starting Over.
What was
That's
that?
not a big guitar sound. And
Sure.
there's also Carson.
Yeah. Carson, we wanted to like
White
deliberately.
T-shirt Night is also.
Yeah. So anyway,
It's like,
yeah. And then even like the album cover, wanted to make it a little like darker thematically, because RA3 was much brighter colors and everything, and then wanted this one to be a bit of a switch from that quite deliberately. And before we talk about specific songs, like the theme of the album, I guess, or the reason for You're Not a Bad Person, It's Just a Bad World. I think for me, it was like coming out of this pandemic, it feels like the world is like, it's like in turmoil, like more than it's ever been in my whole life. I don't know about you guys. But it just feels like there's been so many like new topics that have come up that you have to decide like which side of the fence you sit on for all these varying degrees and different issues in the world. And it feels like you have to pick and choose a side now. You're either one of us or you're one of them. And like, which side do you stand on? If you're not on my team, it's like, oh, you're one of them, aren't you? Like, you don't want to get your second shot. You don't want to get your 5th shot. You don't want to, like, it's just like, you're a fucking horrible person. Like, it just seems like it got so judgy, and especially online, because you can be a keyboard warrior and you can put any opinion out there. And it's like, it got so toxic so quickly. And the thing that confused me the most was like all the misinformation, or you could have people quoting like sources of things like they were peer-reviewed articles on both sides of the fence on the exact same topic. And so as just a person in society trying to just figure out this madness, you're just like, fuck, man, what's actually right? What's wrong? I don't even know. And I just felt like so confused. Like it was so hard to form like my own opinions on these things, that I just felt like I was like, I don't know, like underwater or something. And so the idea was like, at least for me, You're Not a Bad Person, It's Just a Bad World was more like, it's not to say like the world is completely grim and it's never going to be great again, or everything's gone to shit and we're no coming back. It's more to be like, look, you're probably actually doing just fine, and don't beat yourself up about what's happening in the world because you can't control it, and it's confusing for everybody. So give yourself like a bit of a pat on the back and give yourself some almost credit that these are big, tough, challenging times for everybody, and it's not just you, you know?
yeah, totally. I think this thing of polarizing the world has been going on for a while, pretty much since the internet started or something, and it just escalated during the pandemic to an extreme degree with the vaccine and all these hot topics.
So anyway, yeah, that was a bit about like the theme of this, and I hope people are still encouraged at the end. It's not to say that everything is bad. It's actually, at least from my perspective, that you're doing okay, and that these are tough and challenging and complicated times, especially for young people, because I think that, to Duran's point, we've inherited a whole lot of shit from the older generations, from financially and just everything. It's real tough.
Yeah, every generation's going through their own problems, right?
Yeah.
Pandemic was rough on everybody for different reasons. I don't think anybody got away not affected negatively in some way, right?
Well, I must say that the pandemic summer was my best summer in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, some people, it was my healthiest year for sure,
There you
too.
go.
Like, I didn't get sick for the next 2 years. Now I get sick all the time, now that I'm back.
Mhm.
It's almost like, yeah, me too. It's almost like the body is like, it was in like living in a bubble for such a long time where you're not exposed to any germs. And then now all of a sudden your body is like, germs everywhere. Don't know how to fight these anymore. Oh shit. Like,
Yeah, and now people are going nuts, right? So it's all changed.
yeah, it's tough. It's really tough to keep your head above water these days, but it's part of growth, I guess, and part of change. So
And so we've done a little project with this EP on the merch store, the special 100 something.
yeah.
You want to talk about that a little?
Sure. Yeah. That was I think we're always trying to do cool things and trying to keep fresh ideas that are exciting for us and for everybody out there listening and all the fans and everything. And so opposed to just putting out a t-shirt, it was like, let's try to put out like a collection of things, and thought it would be cool to do this like little USB drop where we put a bunch of behind the scenes footage and different animatics for all the different videos. That's kind of the process of making these videos, and all the song demos that we worked on before we actually recorded them, and talking a little bit about the songs, and just trying to give people something unique and interesting. And I also like the mystery behind it, kind of not knowing what you're going to get. I think that's really fun. It's like, takes us back to when we're little kids, and it's like you get a birthday present or it's Christmas. You're like, oh my God, what's in there?
Did you ever go to 7-Eleven or like a convenience store and there was like that mystery bag?
Totally, yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, $2 or whatever. And it was always full of garbage. It was never anything you wanted, but
But
you
the
just had
allure
you had
of
to
it.
get it.
Or it's
you
like
know?
a Kinder Surprise. It's like, yeah, you crack that thing, you're like, what toy am I going to get? Or those Christmas things, when you pull apart at Christmas. I don't know if you've ever done those things before.
Oh yeah, crackers.
Cracker or whatever, and then you
yeah.
open it, and it's like someone gets like a dice, someone else gets a whistle, someone else, you're like, what
We
am I
do
going
it
to
every
get?
year.
We had these things in Slovakia on a Christmas tree, but they're when you pull them, it's always a chocolate.
There you go. So you
No
figured,
surprise.
No
you figured
surprise.
out the riddle, but it's always good. So that also works. But yeah, I remember I was reading this book by an author called Jonah Leher, I think is his name, and I sent that to you too. And it was about mysteries and how like TV shows and movies, and they always follow these. They call them mystery box. They present this kind of mystery box, and they attract the viewer and keep them interested, because you can't help but want to figure out who did it, or who did what, or you just have to figure out, solve the riddle or figure out the murder, or else you just won't feel satisfied. So as a listener, even if you don't even love the damn show that much, you just can't help but have this fucked up need in your mind to absolutely figure out what's going to happen. And that's worked since like the start of writing, really. And we take that into kind of all sorts of different things. So this USB was kind of no different. So I hope people dig what's on it.
And so, is it fair now when, it's only been like a limited 100 people, whatever, getting the stick, and on that stick you filmed a bunch of videos about the songs. So do you think it's cool now to talk about the songs when the USB sticks are out of the merch store? Can we do that, or?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think it's like,
Not everybody gets USB stick.
yeah, I can't like,
Yeah, I know,
and
but-
it's different what I talked about there versus here. It's like, It's not like I'm never going to answer the question on what is the song Run the World inspired by, or it's not like I can only limit myself to answering that once. So with that being said, I think let's talk about the actual songs themselves.
Let's do that.
So why don't we go in order of on the record? So the first one is Run the World. And my memory started on this one. It was a beat, I think, that Chin had worked on. And it sounded a bit like Balmoral Hotel because it had the same chord progression. And I remember writing some top line to that, which is lyric and melody for people who don't know what top line is. And then having like kind of just a very rough skeleton. And it was written from the perspective of like it was almost like a letter to like to the fans, I guess, kind of from my side of the world. That was about kind of like even in times where I think I'm feeling down or feeling like I don't want to do this anymore or feeling like whatever when times get tough, we're all human, but then almost feeling like after reading like, you know, thousands of messages from people who share their heartfelt personal stories with us that can be very, very deep. It can even talk about suicide, depression, all these topics. It's almost like now I feel this like sense of responsibility for some reason to like pull myself out of bed even if I'm feeling terrible and be like, I guess I feel like I have a responsibility to, if what we can do can help people around the world, it's like you have to put your own issues aside and almost do it for them because it's helping other people. So that was kind of the idea of Run the World. Putting myself out there to help cure your worst despair, depression, grief, or just the courage to get out the sheets and reach for a loose leaf. That was kind of like how the song started. But then it didn't really have a finish at all to it. And then I remember going on a weekend kind of hanging trip with Jared and brought that song to the table. And then I remember he added some great lyrics. I think he added a verse and then we ended up coming up with like the skeleton of a song, but I didn't necessarily want it to be to that beat because I think it was too similar to Balmoral Hotel. So then I remember bringing it back to you guys and maybe not even playing the beat, maybe just playing it a cappella. And then I remember Django, you just all of a sudden playing like this sweet riff, this like bass riff, which was like had nothing to do even remotely close to that beat. But I was like, this is cool. This sounds really cool. I liked like how much of like a hard riff it was. I was like, damn, this feels like real impactful. And then that totally provided like the whole North Star for the, I'd say, direction that the song took.
You want to talk about the bass riff, Django?
Yes, it took me about 12 seconds to literally, yeah, there's a lot of times when we write songs, I think somebody plays something, somebody else hears it, also hears something, and I don't think it was intentional from my side that this needs like a sweet Rage Against the Machine kind of riff or whatever, but it was more like I was playing something, and I think James said like, this is a cool riff, so we recorded it and we put some distortion on it, and it goes from there. It's very rarely somebody, when we write songs like this together or music like this together, very rarely somebody has like perfectly thought out idea that they present, so
it's usually you play something and someone hears it and that kind of starts
modified a little bit after or
starts
whatever.
a chain of events. I remember when we took this to the studio, though, I can't remember on the demo, but when we were with Ben, the chorus wasn't really working because we had this sweet riff for the verse, but then the chorus we were trying to do like somewhat of a programmed thing, or we might even reference Grandson or something like that, but it just wasn't working at all. And so we sat on it for a little while, if I remember correctly, for a few days, and we had to circle back to it because it felt like two completely disjointed ideas that we couldn't really bridge the gap.
Yeah, we did change the bass line there to Moog, and also the notes have changed. So now the chord progression is completely gone almost from the song, the original one. And I also remember during the demo, Lubo was I had this kind of like they call it Stairway to Heaven. Like I had an idea that sounded very much like Stairway to Heaven.
So
I
now,
think Lubo
now you
took it-
admit it.
Hey, we have it on
Finally.
record that he admitted it.
Yeah, I had to admit it because then Ben Kaplan demonstrated to me with his "There's a lady who's," and I was like, okay, Ben, you're right. But it had that kind of vibe, even the different notes. And Lubo, remember, like took those notes and make it like this sweet post-chorus lick. That's really
Oh, that's where that
that's,
is.
that's
Okay.
really signature for the song.
It is, yeah. I was wondering where that came from. I couldn't remember.
And so that's another example of like collaboration, I think, of two ideas that now
Totally.
it's not, nobody thinks it's Stairway to Heaven
Yeah.
when you hear that lick, but when you hear it on acoustic guitar, plus we had some flutes at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
It had that kind of vibe. But
Man, I don't remember any of this, actually. I don't remember anything you're saying. It's completely blank. I
I'll-
remember Lubo adding the triplet hi-hat thing. That was his idea for the chorus. That was in the studio. That's like all I can remember from
You,
that.
you don't remember any of demoing because you usually work upstairs.
Was I even around
it's
for
like-
this? I probably came downstairs to play some drums and then went back
So
upstairs.
how it works, we start on a song, then after like 6.5 minutes, Duran is like, okay, I need to do a bunch of work. He
Yeah,
leaves, and then
I
he gets
get
a
bored.
text, we need the drums. He comes down, listen to the demo, put drums on, and then he leaves again because he needs some...
Maybe
some work
that's
needs to be
about
done.
what
So
happened,
that's-
yeah.
not every time though.
But
You
like
came up with some
95%
cool
of the
licks.
time, like most of the time, Duran's just
Yeah.
working upstairs.
I don't know. Yeah.
You need a
Yeah.
computer here in studio with the headphones.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
we
I
should
don't want
start
to spill the
demoing.
beans again, but Duran came up with some cool hooks and licks that you might or might not hear on the next release.
Yep. And then moving forward to the video of this song, oftentimes videos, stew on an idea or it'll follow the narrative of the song. And then, I'll do like a little write up on some rough video ideas. And then Crooked City Studios will usually take that and we'll usually flesh it out and hash it out and go back and forth a few times. But this one I had almost no idea for. And much credit to Lou at Crooked City Studios. He just pretty much took the song and came up with this video idea completely on his own and took it and ran with it. And it's a really cool video. I think he did a really good job.
The red girl is very popular.
Oh, yeah?
They're calling her Red.
Was it my idea to put it as a thumbnail?
Yes, and Jan's idea was to put it as a thumbnail.
My
Awesome.
One great idea for thumbnail.
And
Sweet.
it's doing better. The video's doing
It is,
well.
yeah.
Maybe it's red.
That's actually a good thought is like if a video is not performing well, just to change the thumbnail immediately.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of the clicks coming from Discovery, like it's just a browse features. It's not necessarily a playlisting. So
Yeah,
We could still try to change
Yeah, that's what I'm
thumbnails,
saying.
but
just go try to change the thumbnail. Why not? Like,
you kind of like whatever. I guess this isn't a YouTube podcast here discussing.
I think for everybody out there, we're such a small team and we do literally pretty much everything ourselves. So one thing leads to another. And now we were talking about recording songs and now we're talking about YouTube thumbnails because we're the
Yeah.
one who literally is doing all of that shit. So
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we can move to the next song, right?
Yep.
Which is...
Love is all I bring.
and it is about...
So this one started.
Okay, wait,
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you remember the original or whatever the name of the demo? I know that Jan remembers.
you know, like how Lubo calls songs differently because he doesn't know the name.
Yeah, I don't
I
remember
remember
this
one
one.
you couldn't find. You could never find the
Oh,
song.
I don't remember what it was.
I remember this one, I think.
Can I? It was called James and Alfie.
Oh, yeah, because Alfie is in the second verse.
Okay,
There you go.
it's a little plug.
So that was one of those I could never find in my. I'm like, is it Earthquake? Is it what is it? It's like somewhere I downloaded it once and it's in my iTunes library and I'm so bad at organizing myself that I'm like searching keywords and that was definitely not one I
Yeah,
searched.
This one was my fault for sure.
Yeah. I think we've actually probably lost songs at some point at somewhere or another because we quite literally can't find the title of the session that it was called.
Oh,
And
our folders are.
We did have one session that's called Which Tether is Better, but I'm not sure which song is that. Yeah.
I know, but
that
I
was
can't say the
that
name.
was Stay Curious. Yeah, from
Okay, there we go.
yeah.
Which Tedder is better? Oh, that's
Because
funny.
then we
Stay
watched that
Curious.
Ryan Tedder songwriting production course, and then we're like, "Fuck it, let's just try to do a song that's in this vein or whatever." And that was the song came up with. Yeah. Okay, so "Love Is All I Bring" or James and Alfie song. This one was inspired by they always talk about on the Pacific coast, there's supposed to be a catastrophic storm that's supposed to hit in the next 100 years or whatever. That's supposed to totally change the whole region. Like, and after this whole pandemic, I was kind of like, you know what? If we just live through a pandemic, what are the odds that like this fucking storm isn't going to hit like in the next 6 months or something, like, and we're just, none of us are going to see it coming, and it's just going to blindside us all. It just felt like one thing after another. It's like, monkeypox, it's got this shit and that shit. It's like, this storm's coming, baby. So I was just kind of putting myself, and our studio is kind of right by the ocean. So if there is ever an earthquake that caused a tidal wave or a tsunami or something like that, we would be on the front lines of that baby. So I kind of put myself in the shoes of, holy shit, even the news or something didn't see this coming, and bam, this storm just hit. And it's like the idea that you'd be grabbing some food, some clothes, whatever you could do to get out as quickly as possible and find higher ground. And then once you're in essentially like the war zone, it's like seeing all sides of people. You see the bad side of people who are taking advantage of the situation and stealing and looting and doing whatever they possibly can to, and then you see the good side of people that are, even though it might put themselves in harm's way, they're trying to help people who are struggling and whatnot. And, I'd like to think that all of us in this room would be in the latter camp where, we would help someone if we saw them in need, even if that meant a dog.
And here we go.
Yeah, and enter Alfie. So that was kind of the idea of this song, is kind of just putting yourself in living through a crazy event like that, and ultimately trying to help people and survive. And then musically, this song was really challenging. Mm-hmm. It was one of the hardest songs I can remember. That we started to, I think, a YouTube beat, and then didn't want to use the YouTube beat because it was whatever, it was kind of lame. And then we tried to do it ourselves, but I think it had like 50 different parts to it or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's we maybe took it a little too far with every chorus had a different, vocal treatment. It went a little bit too much, but I think there were fantastic ideas across the board. We just didn't, probably lost perspective, as it happens sometimes to us, and we moved on from the song. And then we did it with Chin.
Yeah, then we're like, okay, we just parked it because it just wasn't really working, and then we took it to Chin, who we did Flashback with, and White T-Shirt Nights, and Keys to the Cage, a couple other songs. PhD. Yeah, and he's the type of producer that's totally different. It's like, he doesn't care to hear your demo. He doesn't want to hear your demo. He wants to hear your rough vocal melody and your lyric, and he wants to come up with the whole music and beat and vibe kind of himself, and that's the way he works. So he's kind of an interesting guy that if you're stuck on a song, he's going to provide you a vision one way or the other. It's just a matter of if you fall in love with it or not. And so we worked on it with him, but we didn't fall in love with it, and I think we felt like it was way too similar to a different song that's on an upcoming project that may or may not be called Milk and Honey. and it was like the same beat, the same tempo. It just felt like the same, and we just weren't really loving it. So then we parked that, didn't use that version. And I think this was one of the ones when we had extra studio time, right? That we were like, wasn't it? It's like we had extra studio time.
I think it was done in the first half of the recording in July.
Was it? But maybe one of the later songs?
We might have finished it later, but I remember...
Like, we didn't go in... This was like one of the first 5 songs we recorded. I'm pretty sure it was towards that later.
Not 5, but maybe later in that... But it was definitely summer recording sessions. Was at least the idea with the...
Sure.
Kashmir riff or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I remember, like, feeling almost like, okay, we'd recorded, I think, the beds for several songs, and it was like, okay, we've achieved the amount of songs we wanted to do already or something. So
yeah,
what else?
I think that's how it went.
Yeah, what else do we have in the bag? And it was like, okay, let's crack this one. We've struggled with this song a bit, and then I remember you guys both went to the piano or something, didn't you? Or you guys got a little...
It was like we were... I think it was me and Lubo. We kind of like back and forth, and Lubo started playing this. Well, not gonna call it Kashmir because it doesn't. It's not like Kashmir. It's not another Stairway to Heaven or Kashmir.
What is
It's not-
Kashmir?
Kashmir is a Led Zeppelin song.
Oh.
It has got the riff da 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 da.
Oh, okay, okay.
Da, da, da. And then Lubo ended up recording that riff.
It's
And
a totally unique and independent thought. It was not influenced by one bit by Led Zeppelin.
Oh, that's
it
where the
is, it
guitar
is.
came from.
yeah, but it's I'm saying just because the rhythm is the same, the notes are kind of different, and
Yeah, but it also
Anyway.
is like I
we
remember.
were not ripping off Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, our heads also went to like Eminem, didn't we?
I don't remember.
Someone
Yeah.
was like, oh, this sounds like an Eminem song. I can't remember which one.
Well, the 8 Mile one.
Lose Yourself, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So
it
then-
kind of has that vibe. Yeah.
So then we're like, okay, there's all these different things. Clearly, this rhythm, whatever, has been used many, many, many times. We're like, this sounds really cool, and it gave it like a real like badass kind of energy. And that was like, we caught a vibe really quickly. I think once that happened, we're all like, this is cool. We're sinking our teeth into it a little bit. And then I think we needed something in the chorus, and that's when you came up with that sweet piano line. And then you came up with that cool guitar thing afterwards. And we're like, okay, now we feel like we're kind of on to something. And from there, it was like we had a version. I think we all were like, oh, there's a lot of cool elements that we all liked in it.
I remember in this song we were muting a lot of stuff because we
Yeah.
recorded vibes. We
Weird
recorded
vibes. The
you
vibe's
know-
still in there, right?
Yeah, but only in some sections. But
Yeah.
it used to be like so crowded.
Yeah, the chorus
Then-
is the
then also
same, man.
Third verse, there's a lot of like, I think in the original version there was a lot of Lubos just like jamming with his pedal board
Yeah.
sounds that were cut
Mhm.
into like to make sense a lot of because it used to be like
Yeah.
so.
Was that the one where we like recorded a bunch of your stuff and picked where they go?
I think so.
weird guitar
Yeah.
effects.
Yeah.
But also the intro that is a really cool intro like unlike us. That was basically done by Lubo completely.
That
You know,
was
that like
the rain and
filtered-
shit like
oh,
that, right? Yeah.
filtered thing
You
and
had
the
like
whole-
a full like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
opening.
yeah. I remember that.
You need to set the vibe, right?
It was cool. Yeah. There was a lot of
There's
cool
one
stuff.
thing maybe I want to say that James gave us like a week before the studio. He gave us or 2 weeks. He gave us like assignment to come up with parts and just work on the demos we already have, but maybe add something if you think something could be cool for the song. And that was one of those things.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was solo that
Yeah,
actually you can hear. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
Basically recorded by him at his house.
Yeah.
And never re-recorded. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Works.
sorry, I said everything.
No.
Yeah, it's cool. And anyway, I think that's a good example of like you could have just quit on the song, but instead, sometimes it takes recording it 3 times. Remember, actually, I heard Mike Caren talk about that. Mike Caren's like a big music industry executive who ran the major label that we were on for a short amount of time, and he said it's all about the song. He said, and you might have to record this song 5 times with 5 different producers, and you might have to do this several different times. But if it's a good song, it's a good song, and it could take you recording it in a different genre, in a different whatever, to find its like natural home. And that even if you don't get it the first time, try it with a different producer, whatever, like, you know, or try a different version of it, but don't just give up on a song if you like it. So
So how many singles are out of that album? You don't look at me like that. Just answer the question. How many singles are out of that album? Like we're out before the album time.
Oh,
That's
I was
what
gonna
I'm
say, I'm pretty sure all the songs
Yeah,
are
yeah,
out,
yeah,
Lubo.
my
I don't
bad,
know
my
where
bad,
you've
my
been,
bad,
but
my bad. I'm the one that usually doesn't even know like
Do
what
you mean
songs are on the album.
How many singles did we release?
before
the album dropped?
We
Yeah,
did.
3.
yeah,
3. And so what was the third one?
Lose My Cool.
Lose My Cool.
No, and Moving On.
Oh,
Moving
so
on
fo-
was third one.
So which one wasn't the Run the World?
Run the World came out with the album.
And
The first
then-
one
As
was
a
Love Is
video.
All I
Love
Bring,
Is
then
All I
Lose
Bring.
My Cool,
Right.
and then Moving On.
And so Lose My Cool, that was done.
That was done a while ago.
Yeah.
We demoed that like way before RA3.
It was part of RA3.
It was part of the RA3 demos, and
Mm-hmm.
that it never made the cut for recording. And that was also one that was quite party. We axed a lot of parts from it because it felt like the song didn't. We had some difficulty flowing for the song. It was like very like, oh, I'm in this. Wait, I'm here. Now I'm here. Oh, wait, I'm here again. Like we almost did it like with a lot of really cool parts, and some I might even miss, but it was like as a whole piece, it didn't feel like it was like a fluid experience or something. And
Yeah, we had that Arctic Monkeys. What I gotta say.
yeah. Yeah, we had all sorts of different stuff on that one. So again, that was one of those like addition by subtraction. We ended up cutting more than we ended up adding to the song.
And that song has absolutely sick drum beat.
I was gonna say, I remember that you're such a good drummer, but I remember that the one song that you struggled with, and you never get mad, but you were getting like actively a little bit like, fuck, go again. Like it was like you just couldn't nail it because it was a challenging drum beat and it was fast.
That was my White Whale song. It was hard to get it. Demoing was really tough for some reason, but when we went into the studio, I did it way better. So I don't know if I like got better somehow. I feel like I'm only getting worse on drums, but maybe I'm getting better. Who knows?
It's probably one of those things that once you actually like figure out the part and you get used to it and you hear it back a few times on a demo, it's like your body like learns it even though you're not even playing it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, those drum grooves are cool because it was we had drum and bass thing and we had toms, like stuff you would not find on a mainstream rock album at all, like anywhere. So it's like, it's cool. I like that Rare Americans has like real drums and it like,
Yeah, it's cool.
a lot of times it sounds sweet. And now we're doing a nice blend of both and of both electronic and real. And it sounds really unique, you know? It's like a cool drum experience. When I listen to the album, I'm like, oh, these drums sound pretty sick. Like,
Yeah, they
there's
are,
a lot
for
of
sure.
cool stuff.
Yeah, well, that was I think part of the MO with the whole direction of things was like Ben was like, I think we told him, okay, we want to try some more extreme sounds of all over the spectrum, from vocals to guitars to drums. So he was bringing in a lot of his distortion pedals for the drums and all sorts of different things to make them sound all trashy or whatever. Like, so we were deliberately trying, I think, to do more extreme choices in things than we probably had before, which is great because I think that it was fresh kind of for everybody. So that was a bit about Lose My Cool.
We skip moving on, right?
Moving on. This was one I remember last summer. This was one of those songs that took zero time to put together, which is really nice sometimes. It feels like sometimes writing songs can be like, you feel like you fucking have to hack away at it for 2 weeks. You're just chipping away trying to solve this stupid puzzle. And then some songs are just like, thank you, song gods, for just handing it to me on a plate right here. And this was kind of one of those. I remember being on the roof, and I think that Michelle and I were probably fighting, and I think that we were in like a bit of a darker-ish place. And like any couple, you go through times where you're just like, fuck, this thing is over. Like, we're done. There's no coming back, yada, yada, yada. And I think ultimately any good relationship is worth fighting for. And so I'm happy that obviously we're in a great place, but at this point in time we weren't. And so I remember putting myself in the position of someone who was not in a hasty breakup or any type of like, I hate you, you hate me. It's more like, I love you and you love me, but maybe this relationship has run its course. It was more that type of breakup song. So I used that, I guess, my own situation as inspiration and put myself in the shoes of someone who was going through this situation, because I feel like heartache and breakups are something that every single person alive has in common. And it's such a horrible pain, and it's something that lingers in your body and in your mind, and it really sucks. And everybody can kind of relate to it. So I wanted to, I guess, allow myself to go there and to flesh that concept out. And at its core, it's such a simple song. And sometimes I think really simple songs are ones that write themselves really quickly. Once you have a melody and you have a rough flow, it's now almost inserting kind of the story and where it's going. So I remember the whole start to finish on the acoustic guitar of that song was maybe an hour or something like that. It didn't take very long. And I remember being really jazzed on it. And so the next day I remember being like, we're dropping everything. We're doing a demo of this song right now.
You're listening to our free podcast, The Screw Loose Juice. But this is just a taste. If you want the all access pass to Rare Americans, then sign up for our fan club. For just $5 a month, you'll get never seen before music videos, guitar tutorials, articles written by the band, never heard before song demos, and hey, maybe even a little life advice that we've picked up along the way. Your $5 goes a long way in helping us make more music and videos to further reach people just like you all around the world. The link to sign up is on our website, rareamericans.com, and on our Instagram page, @rareamericans. Thanks so much for your support.
You also told us that, don't worry, I did not break up with Michelle.
Yeah. I set the preface of that one. And then I remember this one also having quite a clear vision for the production of it. And I wanted to get away a little bit from the straight chuggy acoustic guitar the whole time. And I think you came up with a new chord progression that was really pretty. And then I wanted to have those stick clicks, really simple, and the trumpet line. And I remember taking some inspiration for this song on the production from Olivia Rodrigo because she had just put out Deja Vu, and I really liked that song. And even though that and Driver's License are quite sparse songs, they still feel very full. So even at the pre-chorus of that song, I wanted to have that low sub bass. So even though it's sparse and there's not much going on, it's almost one of those things you don't hear, but you feel. It feels full, and it still feels like it's got some bass and some low end to it. So we had a sub bass and a real bass, but the real bass was played on quite high chords. It almost sounds like a guitar. And then I remember in the chorus wanting to pretty much, steal her that synth line or whatever. I don't know what instrument she plays it on in Deja Vu after the chorus in the post-chorus, but I thought it was such a cool sound, and so I wanted to try to, instead of just doing like a pop punk guitar tidu as Lubo calls it, to try to do a cool wiry synth line. I think we did that on Moog.
Actually,
right?
that was done by Duran. I remember he played that one.
The glide function.
The glide.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
that was a fun recording. And I also remember I changed the bass note. I was like, I think you played some kind of reference that I wanted something like this, and it was a guitar that had like a same, say the high notes, but the bass would change. And I was like, okay, let's try something like that.
Yeah.
And then it became a bass line pretty much
Yeah.
to the thing. And then I remember in the second verse, that was in the studio, Lubo added these 9 chords.
Yeah, I remember that too.
They just totally.
And I remember you being
a lot
unsure
to it.
about that when you did it, because you were like, I don't know if this is right, because it really changed the feel of it. But I think it changed it in a good way, because it takes the song to a new place almost for the second verse. It feels like, I don't know if it makes it more emotional, or it just makes it slightly kind of, I don't know, just different sounding. And I think that's good for quite a simple song. So this one came together really quickly.
Didn't we only keep like 1 9 chord in there?
I think it's the third and the fourth one are still 9 chords.
Yeah, so I really like that song. One of my favorite ones from this record.
I like that one too.
Cool.
It's a fun one.
Okay, moving on. We'll try to rip through these last ones so we don't bore you guys to death. Hopefully you're still interested. Let's go to White T-Shirt Nights. This one was written a long time ago in 2019 when we were in Yukon, right? Or Whitehorse, right? And I remember we were sitting in that hotel room, and you were like, hey, I got this cool. I'm talking to Lubo right now. He's like, cool, I have this progression or something, and you had the lyric of White T-Shirt Nights. And I was like, okay, cool, let's hear it.
And I don't remember the chords, but we have Jan. That's all I want to say to this song.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
I remember Lubo playing me the chords too in the room. It was pretty much this. I don't think they changed. Maybe you added that.
We left something out.
So you had the chord progression worked out completely, I think, in Yukon room.
Yeah, but I remember when we were with Shane, he changed that.
No, we took that song and we went to the cabin with Jared. And that's where we
Oh,
that's
oh,
where
yeah,
we
right,
wrote
right,
the
right,
rest of the
right,
song
right,
because
right,
we had
right,
come up.
right.
I think you and I had come up. We didn't have much time, so I think we ended up writing a verse, chorus, and maybe that post-chorus. The
Yeah.
I wish I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
would have fallen in love with you,
Yeah, yeah.
but we didn't have the rest of the song figured out. So I think that was one of those ones we were on we were hanging with Jared at his cabin, and the three of us kind of finished it.
Yeah, he had that verse with the Waterloo dressed
Yeah,
in
yeah,
brown
yeah.
or whatever.
And then we went, and then we did that on acoustic guitar there. We did an acoustic demo of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we started working with Chin, and then it turned into a bit of like almost sounded like Kid Cudi or something. And I was kind of like, oh, it's pretty cool, but I really wanted you to like it. So I remember asking you, like, I want to make sure that you really like this
Yeah,
because it's so different
it was very different than the demo.
than the acoustic kind of more bright eye style.
Yeah. I always kind of had like some sort of production in head for that song, but wasn't really sure what it is.
Sure. So I remember you being like, "Yeah, I like it. It's cool. This is cool to me." So I was like, "Cool. If Lubo likes it and is good with it, then let's roll with it." And so we did that, and it sat around for quite a while.
It almost didn't make it to the album, right?
That
It
was before after RA3.
I remember you were not really sure if that song is going to be released or wasn't, or which EP.
I
or
almost, I
album.
feel like we just kind of forgot about it,
Yeah.
and then it sat. We gave it to that mixer Steve, and he kind of sat with it for months and months.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think we got busy and lots of tour and stuff, and I just didn't even get the mix notes back, and it kind of just sat around with him. I was like, I'm not really sure if this sounds perfect yet or if it needs something else. And then eventually, to me, I guess it's like done is better than perfect. And I think it's a good song. It's one of those ones to me that's a good song. Like it could be done acoustically, it could be done with a different type of production, it could be done on a piano, and I think it would still be it's at its core, I think it's just a good song.
Yeah.
It has a Beatles vibe.
Yeah, it's cool.
So my
lot of
question
melodies.
is, what is a white T-shirt night?
It's a metaphor, I would say. Like, you know, when you have a girlfriend and she wears your T-shirt and she grabs a white one and she walks like in the evening in your T-shirt, it's a white T-shirt, and I just kind of it is no English phrase or whatever. I just made it
Yeah,
up.
it sounds nice.
It's like, you know, just those.
So
nights.
is that a breakup song? Is that
No, it's
No, it was
it's-
like death of someone.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I remember when to Lubo's, a lot of the times the MO of Lubo is like, okay, Lubo, we got to finish the lyrics to the song. What kind of message do you want this to convey? And you're like, I want it to be fucking sad.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, same with Berlin. It was like, I want it to be sad and really sad. We're like, okay. So then I remember we had the discussion of like, this was someone who lost their wife or something like that, or
girlfriend, whatever,
lost
yeah.
their girlfriend or their partner. And
Yeah.
I remember when we talked about it, I think there was someone who works maybe for my family's company that lost their wife kind of tragically, maybe
Okay.
cancer or something like that. They're pretty young.
Wasn't that actually because that's what the year when I don't want to say names, but you know my friend from Slovakia who is here.
Yeah, that kind
his
of thing.
wife died like 3 days before we went to Yukon, or 3 days, maybe 2 weeks. So maybe that was the.
I don't remember.
Maybe
that being an
inadvertently, but I don't
inspiration.
remember you bringing that up.
Yeah.
I do remember you talking about though, like, okay, when we talked about it, it was like, yeah, it's like those nights where you're not longing for like the best, most beautiful vacation time away. It was like the opposite of that. You're longing for your partner to have the average Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. sitting on the couch together
Yeah.
and having a white T-shirt night where you're both sitting and you're like almost like in your pajamas, and it's like now the guy is sitting there in his white T-shirt alone kind of thing, and it's
Yeah.
like, I wish I never would have fallen in love with you because it hurts so bad that you're gone, but I would never trade it for the world even though it hurts so bad kind of thing.
James is very good at explaining my thoughts.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That makes the song even better now that I know this.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is the Waterloo line?
That's Jared.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It's something. I asked the same question, but he explained it, but I forgot.
This is like when you listen to a Rihanna song and there's like 9 writers in the room and one of them added something. It seems like there's 3 lyricists here and none of you guys know.
I don't remember that. Usually I know all of them, but that is one I don't remember.
I think it's the whole expression Waterloo dressed in a what is it,
Waterloo dressed in a gown.
gown?
That's
Yeah,
a
like I think
Napoleon Wars, Waterloo, right? There's the big fight at
Waterloo's a
Waterloo.
location.
Yeah. But that's famous for Napoleon Wars.
maybe we should do a hotline here and
Yeah, nobody asks us about our lyrics.
Call a
They're-
friend.
call a
Sometimes
friend.
lyrics are not.
Do you-
Even the band doesn't
Do
really.
you think
know.
Jared would pick up the phone if you call him right now? It would be funny.
Go for it.
No, you go for it. No, you go for it.
It's his birthday.
Yeah, you go for it.
Sure. I'll call.
You're his brother. It's Jared's birthday today.
It's Jared's birthday, yeah.
It's what is it? August 23rd.
Let's plug him into the mic through the phone.
I'm going to put it on speaker.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, put it on speaker.
Hey man,
Hey, how you doing?
great, how are you?
Good. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Awesome. We are all sitting here. We're doing a podcast, and so you're on speakerphone now, just letting you know.
No problem. You can probably hear my baby grunting. So
We can, yeah.
You're live, buddy.
Yeah, you're live. But we're going over all the songs from this album for a podcast for the fans, and we were talking about white T-shirt nights, and none of us know the reference to Waterloo dressed in a gown. So we figured we would call you live and get the actual meaning behind it.
So if I recall correctly, I think we were writing that song at the cab, and Lubo was sitting on the couch there. He had those lines about it was sort of about like the death of a lover, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Waterloo was just like a tragic sort of historical battle lost.
Oh.
So it's battle. It's Waterloo, the Napoleon Wars reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so of course, in typical Django fashion, he went to history and he got it right.
Waterloo
I remember we were
persona.
writing that song at the cabin there, and Lubo was on the couch, and we were sitting at the kitchenette there, and I was walking around, and we were, I think that just came up quick because Lubo had the idea with the
White
your
T-shirt.
smell tattooed on my clothes,
Yeah.
and I just remember I was kind of walking around, and I think that came to my head, and then we also did that. I think the other parts of that song, I haven't listened to that song in a long time. I wish I never would have fallen in love
Yeah.
with you. And I remember Lubo was just like, he was grooving on that, and then we just put that whole song together in probably, I don't know, 45 minutes or something. So
Yeah, it was really
It's cool.
quick. Good memory.
Awesome.
that's all I got for you on that, man.
All right, that's exactly what we were looking for.
Cool. Well, have a great day, and I got to get back to baby dinner here.
Okay, sounds good. Have a great night.
Happy
Okay,
birthday.
bye.
Bye.
There you go. We got it.
That's actually, this is interesting to me. I'm learning new stuff here.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, maybe let's rip through these last ones. So we,
Sure.
because for all of you out there, we need to get back to rehearsing because we have a big U.S. tour coming up, and we have had very little time to put an entirely new show together. But I think we're at like the 1 yard line of having everything kind of complete to a degree that we feel like is a great show, and now we just need to practice the shit out of it. So we got to get rolling on that, but. We'll get these last couple songs in, and the next one is Green Eyed Monster.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Really long time ago. This one was like definitely pre RA3, probably even RA2.
That was around Hey Sunshine.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
This predates me.
Yeah.
I wasn't around.
Almost like that time when you joined the band as a live player, not full time yet.
Mhm.
Probably that was written.
Yeah, so this would be
But
2019.
I wasn't there either, so it was just Lubo and James.
This is right before you guys probably joined.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is old. So it sat around for a long time. And I remember starting this song because I went to LA for something. It was with that Adrian guy, and we were working with that crazy. No,
Yeah.
but it was a different trip because you weren't there. I remember
Yeah.
being alone.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, I was sitting at like a breakfast table at the hotel. And LA is a weird city because pretty much everybody in LA is trying to be someone or was someone once or is trying to get back to the place they once were or whatever. And there's a lot of like lot of jealousy in Los Angeles. Everybody, it's like crabs in a bucket syndrome kind of thing, where people are trying to pull each other down so they can get ahead. It's like, it really seems like it's got that kind of vibe. It doesn't seem like it's a high tide raises all ships type of place. At least that's my perception of it. And so I remember sitting at this breakfast table and seeing this lady next to me who seemed like she was like on the almost like downturn of her career. Like she had been in a couple things and she was trying to get back there. And I remember her drinking like mimosas or drinking some drinks, like 2 or 3 of them, like really early, like 10 in the morning or something. I'm like sipping on a coffee and this girl's like seriously having drinks.
Well, you drink mimosas in the morning.
Maybe it
Let's
wasn't
not
mimosas.
shame people for enjoying a good mimosa. In the
Sure,
morning.
this was different. This was like, wasn't like a Sunday brunch with friends. It was like she was guzzling these
It
things.
was a sad mimosa.
It was a sad,
Yeah.
mimosa.
not a fun one.
And so I just remember her, like I put myself almost in like the shoes of like an old Hollywood actress or something who is now like in her 40s, and she was getting turned down for all these roles because she wasn't the young hot thing anymore. And she's like coming to acceptance of that. And the idea of green-eyed monster was like a Shakespeare reference for like a very jealous person. So that was kind of like the idea of this character who was trying to get back on top, and all her friends were willing to like sell her out no matter what so they could get ahead in the world. And she's like coming to this reality of wanting to be back there.
Kind of like listening to you now, I'm getting the Brutal and Sneaky vibes. Like you see someone, just
Kinda,
like,
yeah. Yeah, that kind of idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fun sometimes.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
put yourself in this person's shoes and make up your own story of their life, even though it's probably grossly inaccurate. But
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of people out there like this person, whether it was her indeed or not. And then I remember the squash club I was a member at had this, I can't remember his name, but he was an older gentleman, an English guy. And after we had this Shakespeare reference, I wanted him to share this Shakespeare quote. So I remember like having, I don't know, 3 beers or something, being like a little bit tipsy and being like, I have the world's greatest idea. I need to record you right now, and I need you to record the Shakespeare line. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, you got a cool voice, man. You sound like you could be like a radio announcer. I like your accent. He's like, let's go to the squash court right now. It's like 10 p.m. I was like, I got to record you. So I remember we went to the squash court and I got him to record the Shakespeare line on my iPhone, but it had way too much room noise in it. I was like, shit, this doesn't work. It's not usable. We got to go to the change rooms. So then we went to the locker rooms where it was a little bit more carpeted and shit. And I recorded him 2 or 3 times. We ended up putting it in the song, and that was cool. So that was kind of the idea of Green-Eyed Monster, and it sat around for a really long time. But I think we played it maybe for, I don't know, maybe it was Michelle or someone, or Ben was like, oh, I like this song. It seems like it could be in like a Marvel movie. And so we were like, okay, why this song is just sitting around, and
Marvel movie to come, of course.
yeah, Marvel movie to come.
Marvel, call us.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Or Barbie, apparently, based on the new email that we got from Sync Opportunities. Maybe this is the next Barbie smash.
Barbie could be an LA, girl.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
She could be evil Barbie. Okay, so that was a little bit about Green-Eyed Monster. So I'm glad we revived that song, because that's a song that could have totally died in my iTunes library.
I'm gonna just say a quick thing on musical front. The highlight for me is the bass line that Django put in. Django put
Oh,
in.
the post chorus.
Yeah.
Baseline. That's cool. But you play the drums,
It gets me.
and it kind of follows the drum beat.
Yeah, it gets me stoked though. It feels really good. That's a good part.
Awesome. Okay, last 2. We have Starting Over. So
That was the first Django Knows. Was that the first demo?
So starting over, I remember you sent me some voice memo, and you had another part. I am a fighter. I am a fighter.
oh yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
like, I have these 2 tempos, and can you help me work this out together? I sent you something, and then I think I played the ti 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 over top of
Yeah,
that.
I really like that.
And then we were like, kind of like, okay, maybe we should bring it to the studio. And that was one of the first demos when Lubo took over engineering,
Yes.
and we had like
The first one was James and the Woke Slowpokes, though, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
maybe.
That was the very first one once Jeff was no longer in the band, and it was just us. And it was like, all right, someone's got to engineer now. And we were all kind of dabbling a little bit
Actually, first one were your demos.
Yeah, that is
You did
true.
like couple of
Oh,
songs. but
No
you-
Troubles.
No Troubles,
Yeah.
and you did also, I think, Black Sheep.
Yeah.
There was some demos that you did.
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
2 or 3.
And I remember actually that was when the major label was like, you guys need to write a few more hits. And so we came up with No Troubles and Black Sheep. And I remember we had some people over, right?
Yeah,
Michelle's
Kenzie's
friend.
friends or
Kenzie
something.
and
Oh,
Kat
yeah.
Kat was here.
Yeah.
And we were all down and we were having some drinks, and I remember recording, but we didn't have enough headphones for everybody, so there was some feedback from the speakers because we had to turn the speakers down low, and we all sang No Troubles, I think. And I remember being like, oh, like Kat's really good. Like she's like, oh yeah, I took singing lessons for like my whole life or something. I was like, oh, that's a nice addition here. And yeah, so that was the major, right at the
Yeah,
major
but
label
starting
time.
over.
And then starting over, James and the Woke Slowpokes was when Lubo kind of took the driver's seat. And then the next one, I think, was starting over. And we were all real proud, or you were especially proud of the drum sound, because the drum sound sounded really cool. And we were like, we're never going to beat this in the studio. This sounds so cool. We can't, we have to use this.
It was
And
almost
then-
like a Discord
Oh yeah, I
filtered
remember
drum.
that.
Yeah.
That I was inspired by a Portishead song,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Okay.
I really liked that drum groove, so I tried to make something
Mhm.
similar to that.
Yeah, I remember
What do we
you
do?
guys,
Filter?
you guys were working on the EQ on that, like kind of together, like you put that vibe together, and then I did the high bass line, and
Oh, I totally forgot about all that.
then it was like, and there was a lot of like Lubo would use a lot of plugins on, like it was just like the
It's
first
one,
demo.
yeah, one of those times when you do something new and you don't know what you're doing, so you just do everything.
yeah.
You get
It's like you get a new color in the paint kit or whatever, and you're like, I love this color. I must use it on the whole piece.
I really remember it was like some very basic stupid line on a MIDI keyboard that was on a E piano, or the default piano on, and Lubo just like put 17 plugins on it. Sounded great.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. Then also this song was a little bit of struggle. We added that Life's a Shit Show. Later it wasn't there at first.
Yeah, we
and-
also had that like talking part at the end where it's like, life's funny, man. Sometimes you move on from situations and experiences or whatever, et cetera, but that was happening over the Life's a Shit Show, and they were clashing, and then finally I was like, look, my speech just ain't that fucking good. Just lose it. This part is catchy. Life's a shit show. It's all that I know, and figuring it out as I go. I was like, I could picture people singing that, so let's just go with this. And then also I want to credit Lil Misha, because she wrote the lyrics. I hated the pre-chorus lyrics, and so she came up with, or her ideas inspired me. We did it together. I remember of the, I'm a lone wolf on an open road. And then the second one, I'm losing it now. Django. Django.
Oh,
help
what
me.
do you want, the lyrics?
Yeah, what are the lyrics?
Memories.
Yeah,
Oh.
memories. I always know, but I'm just a lone wolf
the
on an
second one is
open. Climbing up
the
mountains of doubt. Figuring it out, but I'll make it out. Yeah, that was Lil Misha. So
There was
credit to
also a different part before that, right? I remember. I kind of like that. We had a different part there, like musical or something.
With a solo. With a
It was
guitar
like,
solo. there.
yeah, but it was kind of down-ish a little
It's the
bit.
I'm a fighter part. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought the
I'm
lyric
a
was
fighter,
so cheesy.
I'm a
That was after the
fighter.
chorus.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I remember that we switched that for Life's a Shit Show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Pretty
changed
much
those
we
two.
replaced it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but we had that after the first chorus too, and we got rid of it altogether and went to the second verse because I hated the lyric. I thought it
Yeah,
was
so
just
then
so
we
lame.
cut this all because it kept stayed in like a minor
Mhm.
chord progression or something, and we switched to major.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
To,
Mhm.
and then,
Songs come and they go, man. They get different parts. of
Yeah,
it.
listening to this stuff, it sounds like we actually like do stuff. You know, sometimes you see the final product and you forget like all that.
Yeah, you
all
kind of
the
take it
little
for
things,
granted,
and it's weird. Each
But also,
cut you make.
and also remember that these songs were like this recording process was so different than when we just worked with Tim. Like, which is, we won't get deep into that. This is another album to come after another album that we've already recorded. We're 2 ahead right now,
We
everybody.
also need to establish like within which album what we can talk about and what we cannot talk about.
Well, I think we can talk about anything. It's our podcast. We can. Say
Yeah,
what we
I was
want.
actually going to tell everybody, like, since you're now listening to this podcast, means you're a very loyal Rare Americans fan and subscriber. So just to let you know, we recorded like 24 songs as part of this whole process. and the first 9 were for this kind of mixtape or album, and then the other ones are on an album, a follow-up that's coming pretty soon, real quick, and it's going to be the biggest video project we've done by far up until this point. So that's a little teaser for you.
And there's some leftovers, right?
Yeah, and then there's still some leftovers that we have we don't have put out yet. Lastly, on this record, we have Better Man, and this was also one that sat around for a little while. I remember working on this song with Jared, and he had written the lyrics for this song, and we were writing this at his house. And I remember we weren't out at his cabin, which we usually are. We're actually at his house. And so his kids were asleep, and so I had to sing like decently quietly. I remember being in the basement when we came up with this. And I remember writing the melody and kind of the rough arrangement there. And it had like the minor, major kind of feel. And it was a challenging one to put together because, again, going the minor into major, going back into minor is always a little bit challenging from verse, chorus, back to verse. And this one were you guys there?
No. You guys had a demo. There's 2 demos. I don't know why I know these things. There's 2 demos. The first one is pretty much very similar, but the other one had like the ending guitar line.
Gotcha.
That was done with us and Duran, so we maybe re-recorded some drums, put live drums on it, and maybe even.
So this is also like 3 years old or more.
This was probably Era's Hey Sunshine after RA2.
Yeah.
The tour.
Yeah.
I think it was after the tour, first UK tour.
Yeah.
First UK tour.
Yeah. This is quite an old song, and thematically, I guess lyrically, I do know the story of this one, and it's my brother Jared lives in Edmonton, where it's very, 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 very cold, and you get not a lot of sunlight in winter, and it's just really tough emotionally for people who live in that climate and battling through minus 40 Celsius winters. But it was like the idea of like, we're falling on hard times and everything, feels like there's no getting out of this hole kind of thing. Yeah, I think that also, relationship wise, everything wise, but it's like, look, the days now are all getting a little bit brighter. And that was kind of the metaphor for life, that it's like you put one foot in front of the other. If you're in a hole, it's like that's the only way to climb out of it. It's to literally it's not all going to happen in 1 second, one day, one decision. It's through putting one foot in front of the other and every single day getting a little bit better until you feel good or you're in a good place, your relationship's in a good place. So that was kind of the theme of the song. And then lastly, sorry, I thought we were done, but we are not. There is one more song, which is probably the most heartfelt, raw, impactful song I would say we've ever done by a country mile in terms of subject matter, and that's the song Carson. And this is a song that is a totally true story, an absolute tragedy of a story that impacted all of us very, very, very deeply. And we wanted to use this terrible tragedy and bring awareness to it in hopes of kind of creating some good in the world and awareness, and hoping that, if any of our fan base, we got a lot of young fans, if they ever, find themselves in a similar situation, to not fall to peer pressure and know that there's another way, or, if you're part of a friend group who's involved in something like this, that you would be the one to kind of raise up your hand and say, this isn't okay. And what happened was this boy, Carson, he was just in his early teens. He was just trying to fit in, and I think he had a bad case of ADHD, and he wasn't really fitting in with his own classmates very well, kids his own age, and so he ended up getting befriended by an older friend group of 17, 18-year-olds, and they were kind of fake friends to him. They kind of made him believe they were his friends, but in reality, they were absolutely not friends at all, and they were a group of bad kids. And he was at the age where his parents were starting to let him, kind of find his footing a little bit and go take the bus to go meet his friends on his own and things like that. And they all went to to a skate park or something like that, or a park, and he went to go meet up with these kids and these friends, and they were all going to do ecstasy for the first time, and he went there just to try to kind of be one of the guys and hang, and they ended up trying to essentially prank him, and instead of giving him 1 tab of ecstasy, they gave him like 12, and the idea was that they were going to film him starting to lose control, and they were going to post that all over the internet, and really just to make fun of him. And I think that these stupid kids didn't realize that 12 tabs of ecstasy can very easily kill somebody, and what they thought might be a funny prank that they were going to make into memes turned into him dying, and it was just an absolute horrible tragedy, and I hope those kids get convicted. But the sad part about it was there was 20 kids or something there that all stood by watching this happen and not doing anything about it. And I think for us, and Jared having kids, and obviously me having nephews and nieces, and even guys in the band having their own kids, it's when you're just, it hits you in a different way. And if we can bring awareness to something like this and show our fans around the world that this isn't okay, and to stand up if you see something like this happening. If there's one life that we could save around the world, then it was worth writing a song about this and bringing awareness to it, even though it's something that's really hard to listen to and to sing about and whatnot. So, very deep, personal song. We, I think, deliberately tried to make it as raw as possible. It's not a song that we wanted to go and produce or make it sound produced or anything like that. We wanted to make it raw and acoustic, and adding I remember the strings we added, and just wanted to make it really impactful, and I think that we all did a really good job of that.
Yeah, I think music wise that one's great.
Mm-hmm.
It really hits.
Yeah.
It's good.
Very, very sad. I remember when we were working on it in the cabin, I was just like, I didn't do anything on that song on that day, and this was all like James writing everything. I was just like sitting there like, this is fucked.
Yeah, it's just really, really, really hard story. But anyway, I hope that we can turn a horrible situation into something that can be impactful for people. And even if you're listening to this podcast, and you can take some positive out of it, or some inspiration from it. Ask for help if you need it, or if you know people who would are ganging up on a kid or bullying a kid, that you put your foot down and you say that's not okay, because bullying is something that's it's really, really tough thing that I think in the past you might get bullied at school, but you go home and you get away from it and you can escape it. But now with everything being online, follows you home. As soon as you get to your bedroom, you open your computer or your phone, you see it right there, and it can be even worse because no one's accountable online, really, it seems like. So it's never been more of an issue than I think it is now, and I don't think it's gone away or even improved. I think it's probably only getting worse. So that's the type of thing I think only change will happen if kind of everybody makes it happen. So that was the background on Carson, and on that note, don't mean to end on a sad note, but
Well, thematically speaking, I mean,
Yeah.
what you said sums it up.
Yeah.
It's a bad world and a lot of bad things are happening, but you can do what you can to make it a better place.
Totally. So that is a little bit about You're Not a Bad Person, It's Just a Bad World, and really excited to go and go meet a bunch of kids again, and play all these different venues and see a bunch of cities that we've never been to before, and play some songs from this record, and share these experiences again with everyone. So we better hit the practice here so we can go and play this seamlessly and flawlessly.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It won't be a downer. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll make it fun.
We will, yeah.
You'll hear also the old time hits too. So
Yep, exactly. All right.
Well, this is it.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
bye.
You're listening to our free podcast, The Screw Loose Juice. But this is just a taste. If you want the all-access pass to Rare Americans, then sign up for our fan club. For just $5 a month, you'll get never-seen-before music videos, guitar tutorials, articles written by the band, never-heard-before song demos, and hey, maybe even a little life advice that we've picked up along the way. Your $5 goes a long way in helping us make more music and videos to further reach people just like you all around the world. The link to sign up is on our website, rareamericans.com, and on our Instagram page, @rareamericans. Thanks so much for your support.